Hello and welcome to Ian and Friends Giro d'Italia edition. I am FloBikes Senior Editor Ian Dille.
And I am Michael Sheehan. Today we are going to talk about Stage 12, a pretty straightforward sprint day.
Yeah, nothing exciting happened at all until 25K to go.
Yeah.
When a giant rainstorm came in.
A bona fide deluge.
Blew apart the field. There was only 30 riders left in the front group. Riders in the top 5, like Richard Carapaz, Domenico Pozzovivo, were left behind, almost a minute down at one point, trying to chase back on. The race was on. I thought those guys, their Giro was potentially over.
It was frantic times, and this is something we've seen. I think that the really established GC riders like Chris Froome, he learned the hard way in the 2014 Tour de France when he crashed out. Pretty much every other favorite crashed out, and Nibali won simply because he was the best bike rider at the Tour. He wasn't the best time trialist, he wasn't the best climber. You know, we've seen Chris Froome in recent years just get so much better at racing at the front of the race, not getting caught out on these stupid little splits, because if you just caught sleeping and a massive rainstorm hits with 20K to go, yeah, your whole race could be over if you're just 50 wheels back in the pack. So I think that Pozzovivo and Carapaz, they dodged a big bullet today. They had a lot of help from teammates getting them back up to the front.
Yeah, Dumoulin, Froome, Yates, all still in the front group, and they did send their riders to the front at one point once they realized that they had a chance to put some time into Pozzovivo and Carapaz. It wasn't a full-on, we're going to bury these guys, though. You know, I saw Chad Haga coming to the front from Subweb, and I was like, oh man, Chad's going to have a long final 20K ahead of him. But at the end, they sort of let Mitchelton Scott, Svein Tuft go back to the front, and I feel like they missed an opportunity.
I have to agree. You know, they did not put in the same effort to dispatch Pozzovivo in that group like we saw with Esteban Chavez the other day. The impetus in the front group just wasn't really there. So like I said, those guys who missed the split, they caught a lucky break, and they're going to have to really be on their toes for the rest of the Giro, because, you know, this is just very typical Giro d'Italia. You go into a straightforward sprint day, and it is anything but that. You have to just be so focused throughout the whole 3 weeks. Yeah,
and we saw how much effort the teams behind were putting into chasing. I mean, fully strung out, and it ended up being Carlos Betancourt from Movistar was one of the last guys to jump across, took Carapaz across, and we'll get back to him and sort of how the race played out again, but there was definitely some bullets spent in that chase back on that affected the end of the race. So then, yeah, they come in, they actually did circuits on the Imola Raceway, and Tim Wellens with a nicely timed attack. Just when it looked like things might settle back down, the group came back together. Yeah. He shot out and lit the race right back up again.
Yeah, which you can always kind of expect from Wellens. Like right when the weather's nasty, hard, crucial point of the race, he's going to go on the attack, and didn't quite have the legs to take it today, but always valiant effort from that man.
Yeah, I don't know if he quite knew, or anybody really knew, how hard that, Category 4 climb was going to be right before the finish. That was a really stiff climb, and the race had already been on. We saw that Viviani got dropped, kind of left on his own by the Quick Step team, of some sad images of him riding by himself with the cars just in sight.
Yeah, he wasn't having a great day. He just looked cold and sad and kind of hurting. But on the other hand, Sam Bennett, you laughed at me when I called him for the points jersey 2 weeks ago, but he was climbing at the front of affairs up that climb, and great legs on him.
Yeah, no, it was insane. I mean, I think, one thing that we see is there are some riders who, when it gets rainy and coldy, get excited. Wellens, Sam Bennett is Irish. I'm sure he's used to doing his fair amount of races in the cold and wet. Other racers, like Viviani, not so excited. And Sam Bennett, I mean, the announcers were calling it that this played out more like a classics race, and what we saw today, I mean, he was riding, right in the front with all the GC contenders up the final climb, and Hanau was attacking, Dennis was attacking. I mean, he really established himself as more than just a sprinter today.
Yeah, this is kind of what I always thought that he could kind of develop into as a rider, like kind of classics type. And coming into his own, I need him to start going for intermediate sprints right now, though. I don't know. I don't think that he really believed in himself at the start of the race that he would be in contention for the points jersey. We saw Elia Viviani just rolling across intermediate sprints uncontested, scooping up points here and there, and Bennett seemed to have no interest in it, and now he finds himself, 22 points in the rears?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. We have another battle going on for jersey.
Yeah, they are tied for stage wins, and I think that Viviani's quicker. In a clean dash to the line, Viviani definitely has the legs, but Bennett has a little bit more strength, and he can, I think, put Viviani into some trouble mid-stage if there's lumpy running into intermediate sprints and stuff like that. I want to see him start looking at those points.
Yeah, and when we're seeing stages like this, we're kind of understanding why so many sprinters chose not to come to the Giro this year. We were looking at all the GC riders that were lined up for this race, all the climbers, and when we were looking at the sprint competition, pickings were pretty slim. I mean, obviously, Bennett and Viviani are two of the better sprinters in the world, but you're not seeing Gaviria, Cavendish, some of the other top sprinters. So now we know why there are not a lot of straightforward sprints in this Giro.
No, nothing is straightforward about this race. But let's talk about another rider who just really comes into his own in the rain, because I think that the entire peloton knew it was coming. They hit a climb, had a descent down to the finish, fast technical descent, dumps you off, a kilometer less than before the finish line? Mohoric's going to go.
Yeah, no, you see him shoot out of the pack, and you just get excited because you know you're going to see a show.
And the thing is, the entire peloton reacted to him. They knew it was coming, and it happened off camera. He was chasing Carlos Betancourt and one other rider. They had a little gap up the road. Mohoric comes out of the pack, and the entire field is strung out on him. And then they round some bends, and Mohoric is he's distanced them. It really just took one corner, and nobody could hold his wheel in the field.
Yeah, it's incredible how fast he can go just by getting low on his bicycle. And there's guys in the field pedaling full out, and he's going away from them just based on how smooth he is around these corners, how relaxed, and just flying down the hill. Betancourt was on his wheel, and it looked like they were going to take the stage, or at least have a chance to take the stage. They hit the bottom of the descent. There's only 500 meters or so left to the line, and Betancourt won't pull. Mohoric weighs him through. Betancourt won't pull, and they get caught. They sit up. Mohoric wasn't willing to pull Betancourt to the line.
Yeah, we have an interesting interview with Mohoric up on the site that our correspondent got, and he basically said, look, I already have my stage win. I'm happy. I'm not going to pull another guy to the line to just let him win. And we saw with 500 meters to go, Mohoric was like, come on, you. He sat up and waved him through. Betancourt said no, and Mohoric's just like, okay, I'd rather take 30th place than second and have you win.
Yeah, and it shows maybe how blown out Betancourt was from having to chase back on and bring Carapaz back on earlier in the race, because he literally only needed to take one or two 5-second pulls to get them within sprinting distance of the line.
But to be fair, Mohoric was also back there trying to shepherd Domenico Pozzovivo a bit. I think Betancourt did more work, but yeah, they were both behind the split. I don't know. It was that's just how good Mohoric is. He's like, I don't want second.
Yeah,
we'll go back.
No, he said he's over it. I already got my stage win. If he wants a stage win, he needs to pull. So definitely interesting. And then Bennett, the way he won this race was so interesting, and it sort of proves how he's developing as a racer. He launched with 400 meters to go.
Yeah, that was it wasn't quite clear at that point whether or not Mohoric was coming back or not, because they had been holding just a very slender gap for a long time, and Bennett he owned that sprint. He's like, I have to go now. The pack was kind of just bunching up a little bit. The impetus in the chase just wasn't there, and Bennett just caught everyone with their pants down and just launched. And insanely long sprint. You do not see sprinters go 400 meters out, but he got the gap. He had to sit down in the middle of the sprint and like recover for a little bit, and then he sprinted again to the line.
The double sprint was phenomenal. I mean, he just owned everybody, and you could see, you know, kind of how blown out everyone else was coming into that sprint. He just had a lot left in the tank. So definitely exciting sprint from him. And on tap for tomorrow, we have maybe a redux of what we saw today. I mean, slightly different route, but another Category 4 climb right before the finish.
Yeah, you know, flat day, we're probably going to see a similar breakaway composition. No real interest in the break from the big teams. And like today, it should come down to a field sprint, but it is the Giro d'Italia, and we just don't know.
Yeah, if we get more weather, more wind, who knows? I will say that I think Viviani really wants another stage win. He hasn't won a stage in Italy yet.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. He got 2 stage wins in Israel and has not won in his home country. So he's going to be hungry for it. Bennett, I think, has a fire under him now, and he's hopefully thinking about the points jersey.
Yeah, we got a battle on our hands. Yeah. All right, well, we'll see you guys tomorrow for stage 13 of the Giro d'Italia.
Thanks for joining.